friends, Zoe here. I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I have a big video for you. This video is going to be vulnerable. It's going to be in detail. I have my remarkable here. I have a couple notes because I'm a Sagittarius, and when we do story times, we like to jump the timeline, and I just want to make sure that I don't do that for you guys because this is a lengthy story that's gone on in my life for a few years. And what's interesting about this story is there has been times when I've actually physically sat down, turned the camera on to make this video for you, to, you know, where I was in that journey or how this manifestation was unfolding. But, you know, one time the footage wasn't right. One time, like, I don't know, I had something going on with my makeup or my hair that was too much for me to post at the time. Like, I'm like, oh man, I didn't check myself before that video. But yeah, so I'm sitting down for you today because this story has become complete in my life. So there's no better time to tell you than now. And yeah, today I'm going to be talking to you about how I manifested a specific person into my life. Very specific. It's going to shock you how specific, and how I brought them back from the past. So there's like two parts to this story, but overall I'm just going to share the journey with you as best as I can. I think it's got a lot of powerful insights for you, which is why I want to share this with you. And yeah, let's get started. Alright guys, so let's dive right into the story time of how I manifested a specific person. So this story actually has a few characters in it, and one of the characters is actually my amazing friend Gabby. You guys have totally met Gabby. She's like my soul sister in this life. So Gabby is awesome, and she's a player in this, so she's gonna keep her name. But the man, the person of interest, the specific person that I manifested, we're just gonna call him David because I was like just thinking about a name and that name came to me, and then I also remembered it's like Eat, Pray, Lovey. So yeah, there's a David in there. So yeah, David is the dude. So the story starts summer a few years ago in Ibiza when I was traveling by myself. I went to Ibiza, I stayed at a hostel, and I met Gabby and some of her awesome friends, and we chilled for the weekend in Ibiza, and we had an amazing time. And that's when Gabby and I actually first met each other and became friends. And as you guys know, you go through life and you just meet these people who you know are a part of your journey. So Gabby was one of these people for me, and we have an amazing friendship, and I'm so grateful to have her in my life. So what happened was, fast forward a few months later, I received a collaboration opportunity because I was living in Rome at this time, and I was invited to stay at a villa in Puglia. So Puglia is like the heel of the boot region of Italy, which is so beautiful. So I have an amazing travel diary from there. I highly recommend it. You guys can't travel right now, but you can travel via my videos. I promise it's an amazing one to check out. The place was truly magical. So I was staying in this villa on top of a mountain in Puglia, and I invited one of my friends at the time to come stay with me there. And the couple who had invited us to like showcase this villa for me to create some video content around it and share on Instagram, because it was like a rental opportunity for someone in such a beautiful villa, like absolutely stunning. You can check that video out. It was just magic, like to be able to be in this place. Italy just holds such a place in my heart. You guys know that. Like, Italy is so captivating. So I already felt like I was in this magical environment, and the couple who were hosting me and my friend at this villa came and cooked us dinner the first night. So they cooked us dinner the first night, and we, you know, started to speak all about manifestation and the law of attraction. Naturally, they had watched my channel, which is why they invited me, and we got to really connect. And they told us the story about how they met. And what was really interesting about this story was that each of them had written a list of their person, right? In the manifestation world, we've always heard about these lists, like write out your specific person and they will manifest. So we heard this story, and I felt super inspired because 2 weeks later they each met each other. They were both prompted in their own lives to write these lists, and then they found each other, and like everything on their list checked off, and it was super inspiring, you know. And so that night we actually decided to write our own lists. So what was interesting about this list was that I I hadn't ever really thought about what I truly wanted. And in manifestation, we know that clarity is key. So I'd never really given myself the opportunity to physically sit down and write a list about this person. I would just like fantasize, like one day we're gonna travel the world together, me and my person, but I never actually got real clear on it. So when we were writing this list out, I wrote all different things about this person. I wrote a lot about what they looked like because I realized I was attracted to a very specific type of person. I wrote a lot about their ambition and who they were, and I also wrote about the time together that we would spend with each other. And I wrote specific things like we would drink red wine together, and we would cook together, and like sometimes he would cook me a meal because he's very good at cooking. And I wrote he played music and he would play music for me, and I wrote like specific songs that I would have liked him to play, like a couple John Mayer songs because like I love John Mayer. And I just fantasized and scripted about this time spent with this human being. And you know, at the end of it, I just decided to, like, as I had this list out in front of me, it was a mix of like, you know, the facts about this person, what they might have done for their career, like what the essence of them was, and then a scripting of a date experience. And so I decided to name this person. And I wrote, you know, David at the top of it. And what was interesting was the reason why I chose this name was because I guess David doesn't really apply here, but I actually had never met anyone in my life with this name prior to when I was in Ibiza with Gabby, and she introduced me to her family and friends, and one of them had this name. So that's why I chose the name, was because I loved the name. I thought it was so beautiful and unique and sounded really nice. So I chose this specific name and wrote it across, and it's David in this video. It's not as flavorful, we'll say. David's not as flavorful as his other name. And so what happened was, I wrote out this list and I kind of forgot about it. Like, you know, I was living in Italy at that time, and like I said, Puglia was so magical, and I was just, that chapter of my life was pure magic because I was living in the manifestation of a dream where I just knew that everything would work out and everything was fine. I didn't need to focus on attracting a specific person. I just wrote it out and like let it go into the universe, and had a lot of fun still getting to know myself and getting to know Italy. So fast forward a few months later, I found myself in December in San Diego, California. And what's interesting is before I actually met Gabby, I had a flight booked to California during this time because I wanted to spend my birthday in San Diego. I knew I had to come back to Canada to do some visa work, and I didn't want to spend my birthday in the rain, so I assumed actually that I was going to be solo, I guess, in California, but that's just where I wanted to be. As you guys know, I love California, I love the sunshine. So Gabby's like, come stay with me. So I ended up going to stay with Gabby for 2 weeks, and the time before I just met her in Ibiza, so it was super fun, super spontaneous. But yeah, we were out for dinner one night, Gabby and I, at Cafe Gratitude in San Diego, and this was like my birthday dinner. So this was kind of like a birthday dinner, I suppose. Like, we were talking about what we were going to do on my birthday, which was a few days later, but we were kind of just going out on a Friday night in San Diego. And you guys know me, like, I think you just know, like, I'm not really like a going out or party girl, which is interesting that I met Gabby in Ibiza of all places. And that's like the time in my life when I really just had a chapter, a few days of partying. And so Gabby's like, come on, we're gonna go to this vegan bar after. And I'm like, what? There's a vegan bar? Like, San Diego is so cool. But I really resisted. I was like, no, you know what, we're just gonna go home and go to bed. Like, we've got a concert this weekend and it's fine. Like, I don't need to go out or anything. And classic grandma Zoe. And Gabby's like, no. And then she's like, Uber is here. She had ordered the Uber because that's just who Gabby is. And so we get in the Uber, and I remember I was like, oh, I don't really want to go. Like, I don't really know if I want to like drink anymore. We had like a Boochcraft beforehand, and I was already feeling it because I just don't really drink that much. And so we get to this vegan bar, Kindred. Kindred is a great place to go in San Diego. And so Gabby and I are sitting at the corner of the bar there. We're drinking a margarita, and I'm like, oh, this is actually such cool vibes. Like, I'm happy we came here. And so I'm drinking a drink, and Gabby notices this guy behind me. And she's like, Zoe, there's like this guy. He's like totally eyeing you up. Like, he's like very like infatuated or enamored by you or something. She's like, hold on, let me get his attention. And before I could even say anything, she's like, excuse me, like standing up like on her stool and just like, excuse me. She's like, she asked him what descent he was because he's very like unique looking person. And she's like, you know, like, I'm from Colombia, my family's Lebanese, like, just curious, like, what you are and stuff like that, like, just making conversation as Gabby is, and Gabby does. And so he comes over and he's like, oh yeah, you know, I don't want to give in too many personal details about this person, but yeah, told us where he was, like, where he's from, like, what his nationality was, and he's from, like, San Diego. And what happened was he like turns to me and he's like, and what's your name? And I was like, I'm Zoe. And he's like, hi Zoe. And he puts out his hand and he's like, I'm David. And in that moment, like, I was like, whoa, this is a beautiful human being. Like, this is my type. This is my type. And we're like getting into the list and everything. This was my type. And then I'm like, he has the same name. Whoa. And I shook his hand, and then what ended up happening was he's like, can I buy you a drink? And I was like, okay. And so Gabby actually went and spoke to the people that he was there with, and him and I just kind of like separated and just had this night where we just talked about the universe and like even law of attraction. And I remember just being so impressed by him because I have to admit, you guys, like, I'm very resistant towards males, or have been in the past. Like, I rarely get approached in like bar settings when I have been out, and like even when I do, I'm just like, no. Like, I'm not a bitch about it, but I'm just like if they ask me to buy me a drink, I'm like, no, like I have one, thank you. Like, I just very reserved, very naturally protective of myself based on what I've been through in the past, that I've been quite open with you guys about what I've experienced in relationships. But this person just, I had this energy about him that I was like, I like this human, and I can trust this human, or I've met this human before. Very much one of those connections. So we started talking all night. He actually tells me where to go for my birthday on the Monday, which was, you know, Gabby and I went on a road trip. This video, I'll leave the videos down below so you guys can kind of follow along the timeline if you want to, and just see where my energy was at those times. But told Gabby and I about this vineyard that was down in Ensenada in Mexico. So we're like, yeah, let's go there. Like, that sounds like an adventure. And I had a great night with him. We exchanged numbers. Like, I remember he actually bought my books on Amazon, like right when I was like sitting with him. He was like so impressed. He was like, I have to read these. Like, and I was like, wow. Then Gabby calls the Uber, and we get in the Uber, and I'm like, Gabby, like, the same name? The same name. And she's like, yeah, I know. I was like, you know, my cousin. And I'm like, no. The same name as this list that I had written out about my specific person. And the reason why I chose the name David was because she introduced me to a David, and it was so synchronistic. And what happened after that was Gabby and I had a concert the next night. We were going to see the Arkells, the Lumineers. Yeah, it was just like a, what was it called? I forget, but it was a bomb concert. Like, it was amazing in San Diego. And I remember there was this one point where we were down like in the mosh pit area, just like down in the front. And Gabby got a text from her boyfriend at the time, and he said that he had shown up to the concert. He wasn't actually able to come, and then last minute he came, and like the Lumineers were about to come on. And so she's like, I have to go get him. I'm like, go girl, like go see your man. I'm good here. And I remember just like standing there in the middle of the floor around all these like hundreds of people. And I just had this moment to myself where I'm like, I'm so good on my own. I'm so good. Like, Gabby's going to see her boyfriend and like gonna love watching the new Lumineers with him, but I'm like, I actually feel so stable and so secure in myself that I can stand here at a concert and have the time of my life. Like, I'm living my dream life. I knew I would find myself in Rome like a month later again, moving back to Rome. And I was just so content and so honoring myself. And then I kind of had this moment, because you guys know I like to talk to the universe, like in my mind or out loud. And I remember looking up at all the lights of the concert, and I just said, okay, universe, I'm so damn happy with my life that anytime you want to throw someone in the mix, whenever you want to throw someone in the mix, let me know. And so the next day, I guess, we're chilling at Gabby's house, and what was interesting about this individual, David, that I met at the bar previously, is that he actually went to school with Gabby's roommate at University of San Diego. Gabby's roommate confirmed, like, oh, he's a cool guy, like, he's so cool, he's so nice, like, he's very intelligent, very smart, and all this. And that immediately made me feel like safer about allowing this person into my life into some capacity. We kind of said, like, let's get together in the next week and hang out or go on a date or something. And so the fact that Gabby's roommate knew him, like, there was just all this synchronicity around this person that you just know there's no coincidences, right? We've all had those experiences where we just know there's no coincidences. Sorry, I just need some tea. Told you guys this is a lengthy story here. I do have the notes, so don't worry. I am following the timeline correctly. And so, okay. So back to, we're in San Diego, and what ended up happening is that Gabby and I had planned, we're gonna go down to Ensenada in Mexico. We're gonna do all this road trip. We're gonna Uber to the border, walk across, rent a car, drive down to this vineyard, and that's where we're gonna spend my birthday. Yeah, such an adventure. And so I had his number, David's number, so I decided to text him. I'm like, hey, Gabby and I are just trying to plan for tomorrow. So just wondering, can you just clarify the name or like anything we might need to know? And he had sent it to me, and I was working like on my computer. I remember Gabby was out with her boyfriend, so I was just like working into this like evening as I do sometimes, and so I didn't check my phone, but he had actually messaged me and invited me over for dinner. He's like, I'm just about to put the vegan dinner in the oven. Would you like to join me? And I was like, oh my god, vegan dinner? Like, you're inviting me for dinner? I'm like, sure. And I wouldn't normally go to someone's house, like Zoe would not do that. Like, from just meeting someone at a bar, like I wouldn't go to someone's house. But the fact that he knew Gabby's roommate and she confirmed he's a great person, amazing, and all this stuff. So I remember ran into Gabby's roommate's room, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you guys know, I'm like, Liz, should I go? Should I go to dinner with him or like at his place? And she's like, yeah, for sure, you have to go, you have to go. So I quickly like put myself together to, whatever extent that is. And, I went over to his place, and he was playing the music that I described in this date that I had scripted out. Just a super nice house with like a really nice view, and just was playing the music that I specifically wrote down. Not the John Mayer stuff, we'll get to that, but just jazz, and like this was a very elegant but comfortable evening. He's making me dinner. I'm asking if I can help, and he's like, no, just sit down. He's like, I'm so happy to have you here. He's like, so can I get you some wine? Like, how about a red? Like, I have these bottles here. Picked a special bottle and like poured me this red wine and put it in a decanter. Like, everything was just like very beautiful and very pieced together, just like my script. Okay, you guys, like, just like my script. And so I'm sitting there and we're talking, and then dinner's ready. He had made like a stuffed butternut squash. It was really good. And so we're just eating together, talking. The conversation just flowed, and it was so depthy, and there were just like the release of all the inhibitions, talking about space and like the universe and like aliens and like what we've been through in our life, or what we feel drawn to, or like or spiritual connections and stuff. And time just doesn't exist when you're with those people. And I think, those of you who are probably watching this video, you probably identify different ways in which this may relate to someone in your life. And so, yeah, it was just such a beautiful night. And then we got to the topic of music, of course. And he's like, can I play you something? And I'm like, okay. So he actually had a piano, and he sits on his piano and he starts to play some music. And he specifically played this John Mayer song that I like wrote down in the script, and I didn't even mention it, okay? I didn't even know that he played music, and he starts singing, and it's like so beautiful. Like I remember I just wanted to cry because I'm like, this is exactly like my script, and this is so beautiful, and this night is so much, and like, how did I create, like I know that I fully created this entire evening. And I'm like, did I create this entire person? Like, it was just a very significant event for me in my life in regards to understanding the power of like law of attraction or creation. So he's playing this music for me. It's so beautiful. And he's like, oh, you know, I have a mezcal collection, and like, I love tequila and mezcal. Like, that would be my alcohol of choice if I'm not gonna drink wine. And he's like, I want you to try this, like this is my special bottles, like shows me all this. I'm developing a crush now because I'm like, how is all of this so aligned with my scripts, but also just like with who I am, like things that people wouldn't know, like he was just talking about or he was just into. And so then we taste some mezcal, and he's like, you know, I play the guitar too. I was like, oh my god, like of course you do, because I wrote this down. Of course you do, of course you play the guitar. And so he starts playing a guitar. Sure enough, there's another John Mayer song, there's another like love song that I like, and he's just playing them and like singing. We just talked all night, and it was just amazing. And then I remember it was midnight and it was my birthday. He's like, I guess I have to sing happy birthday to you now. And I just completely allowed myself to fall into the present moment with this person for the first time ever with a guy. Like, I think that was the first time I've ever allowed myself to just like release the inhibition, because I couldn't help, like this connection was so strong in some way to me that I'm like, I can't hold back. Like let's talk about all the things. I don't know. All the guards were down, and that's not the Zoe that like men or guys or boys or whoever get. So in that way, this person held a special place in my mind. And yeah, I guess we kind of had this like whirlwind little romance. Before I know it, I'm back in Rome. And we didn't add each other on social media, but we sent postcards and some letters. And we had each other on our phones, so we would like send voice notes here and there. But for the first few months that I was back in Rome, I was like sending him postcards and stuff like that. And it just felt really special. It just felt like this, sorry, of course, the memory card is dying. I wouldn't be surprised if this happens again with the memory card, because this is a more lengthier story, but I promise you guys the best is yet to come, okay? The best is yet to come with this. So yes, I'm back in Rome, sending postcards to him, chatting here and there via voice notes, and just like I said, he just held a very special place in my mind. It's like I met him and he came into my mind, and then, you know, he didn't leave. I had gone out on dates or like seen other people in Italy, and did even date someone in Italy for about like 6 months time-ish. But David never left my mind. Always this person that I would kind of come back to or think about, because he really set the bar. He really set a new standard for men in my life, because I feel like prior to that I dated boys. If anything, I dated boys, people who just weren't like me. Or one thing that I did get reflected back to me a lot in that journey was people thought it was weird for like my spirituality or like, you know, loving the law of attraction and things like that, but this person was acceptant of it, or just like, and loved it, like loved to talk about the universe and all these cool things. And so he really set a new bar of what I was looking for. And side note, this is an interesting part of the story. Gabby came to Rome for like 4 days because she had like 4 days off, and she actually introduced me to the guy that I dated in Rome for like 6 months time or whatever. So there we go. Like Gabby just is like, as she refers to it, she's the bitch with the wand.
Honestly, guys, I'm gonna be like, how do you say like a la madrina? Like the Cinderella has like her like little
bridesmaids?
No, like the bitch with the wand.
So she's like my little fairy godmother, but like more like fairy soul sister, who just like, you need some romance, here you go, here you go, here you go. So yeah, we'll get to more of that. And So yeah, this person never left my mind. We would talk here and there, we would catch up here and there, and every time that I would go back to San Diego, I would see this person. So the next time that I was back in San Diego was actually about 1.5 years after we had first met. And we kept in touch here and there, and when I knew that I was gonna be in San Diego, I just like messaged him, and he's like, I would love to see you, like let me plan a dinner. Booked reservations at this really nice place, like had like vegan food. It was gorgeous inside, and he showed up and he just looked amazing, as he always does. Well, he's very handsome, but also just has this attractive energy about him. It's interesting because even like the waitress, like I'm like, people know, like he's a very good looking guy. I don't know if he'll ever watch this video, but yeah, I'm sure he knows. So anyways, we have this amazing dinner. Of course, like time doesn't exist anymore. We're talking for hours. And then I remember I was going to do Vipassana the next day. So this is what was interesting about this scenario, is that we went out on a date and I was going to sit in silence in the desert for 10 days. And he was like, I want to see you after that. So when you're back from Vipassana, let me know and we'll go out again. While he was driving me back to Gabby's house, I actually remember we had this conversation. And he's like, you know, what's really interesting about the fact that you're here is because you just came into my mind more recently, and I just was thinking about you a lot. Like, I want to see Zoe, I want to see Zoe, and now you're here. It's like I manifested you. And I was like, I often feel like I manifested you. So we had conversations about that, and just the weird synchronicities of like how this came back into my life, and vice versa for him as well. And we had the same conversation of, we've seen other people in this 1.5 years of having not seen each other, but our mind always came back to each other. And I remember, you know, he kissed me goodnight and everything, and he's like, so like, where do we go from here? Like, what do we do about this? Because this is something special. And I remember in that moment, I was so happy and flattered that he thought that, but I was also scared and nervous inside because I knew that after I did Vipassana, I was going back to Toronto, and I'd literally just moving here. I had no idea what was in store for my life. Moving back to Canada, 2 suitcases. That's where I was at, of like, I've just like flipped my life upside down, and I actually don't have any idea about anything. So that's where I'm at. And so I didn't really know what to say. I remember I just kind of giggled, and he like walked me to the door and like said goodnight. And I remember Gabby's roommate Liz was there with her friend, and I was just so, you know, like this, just like, oh my God. And they're like, how was the date? And I'm like, oh my God, I had this energy about me. Like, I just was so happy, content, and excited, just so damn grateful that he existed. Because each time I've seen him, or we've gone out, or I was just in his energy or talking to him, I just felt like there's good guys out there. And that's not something that had been in my reality before then. And he just was such a gentleman, and so sweet and so kind, and always treated me, always made me feel like a goddess, like literally called me a goddess and stuff like that. And it just was really nice. And what was interesting was there was actually another person on my mind before I went to Vipassana, someone who I guess I had developed like a little crush on. And I remember thinking before I was going to Vipassana, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna sit with myself for 10 days. And at the end of this, I'm gonna know if I really like David, or if I have this other crush that I wanna pursue first, or like just there's something about this other person. We're gonna call him Ben. So if you guys listen to the Lo and Zo show, you're definitely aware of the characters here. So David is in fact Mr. Quantum. Oh, I've got like very little secrets, okay? So yes, moving on. So as I sat with myself in the desert for 10 days, thinking about how I just spent this amazing night with David, and how he was just like such a magical person in my life, I had all this resistance come up. Like, I don't think I'm good enough for him. How does that even exist? Like, it's too good to be true. Like, I don't know. I had that come up for me. I had that show up for me. I had that even show up for me when I was back in Rome and we were writing these letters, because I just felt like he literally is the most amazing man that I've ever dated or like had experiences with. And I'm like, so he's real, but like maybe he's just meant to be that person who raises the bar for me. I didn't know if this could become something more, because I did have a lot of work in the worthiness and the good enough place to like work on. So I go to Vipassana, I come out of Vipassana, I'm only in San Diego for like 3 more days, and honestly just even having conversations felt like, whoa. After you've been in silence and not talking or looking at people or anything for 10 days, when you get back to the outside world, you're like, you know, shocked a little bit. So I actually never reached out to him. I just went and left San Diego, and a couple days later when I'm back here actually in Hotel Cali unpacking, and he had messaged me and he's like, hey Zoe, he's like, are you still in San Diego? And I was like, no, sorry, like I left. And I can tell now, because now that I'm aware of myself, the reason why I didn't message him when I was back from Vipassana, the reason why I didn't pursue these things was, yeah, I had this work to do in self-worth, but I also just had a lot of fear that as soon as things started to get more real, as soon as he prompted me with like, where do we go from here, what's next, I was flattered and enamored, and I really felt for this person, but I was also full of a lot of fear. And I just kind of decided that I'm just going to categorize this person and these experiences with him as this amazing thing that happened in my life, and that's all that's going to be. And then yeah, I'm back in Toronto doing my own thing, like really settling in, you know, starting coaching and everything that was last year for me, everything that was 2019, and you guys know that, you guys follow along on the journey. And yeah, I did pursue Ben, and that was a thing for a while. You know, near the end of 2019, I actually returned back to San Diego. I spent my birthday in California again in San Diego because I just love it, and I went to go hang out with Gabby, and it was such an amazing time. The week before that, I was volunteering in Mexico with the baby sea turtles, and so I was really finishing off the year with a month of honoring myself and the things that I wanted to do. So I found myself in San Diego. To be honest, I was pretty upset about this Ben thing, this thing that had been going on for 2019 for me. I just was like feeling sad. I remember like that was the feeling that I felt when I was like in San Diego, was sad this time. And what ended up happening was David, like I'd messaged him because I was back, and I'm like, it'd be great if we could catch up. I wasn't intending anything, like it'd been a while since I'd saw him, and we hadn't really kept up the conversation so much, and like I was not expecting like a date or anything like that. I just was like, it would be just great to see you. And so he invited me to this event that he was holding, and so I go to this event, and it was really nice, and I just, being in his presence, I just was like, oh, I was reminded again, like there's gentlemen out there, there's guys out there who appreciate you in this way, they speak to you, they just like, we're at this event, you know, he paid attention to me the entire time, even though this was his event and he was doing a million other things. I felt very special and like very looked after, and it just felt like I could relate to him in that way of being someone who likes to plan, who is ambitious, who has these big ideas, and it was special. It was special, especially because I told you, like, I was sad in San Diego, sad about things with Ben and how that kind of like ended. And yeah, I don't know, just to be honest, like even just thinking about it, I just remember being very sad, and then I just remember feeling very like uplifted and inspired. And then the night before, I was flying to BC for Christmas really early that next morning, my last night in San Diego, and David had invited me to come to this family party, but I wanted to spend my last night just chilling with Gabby, so I just honored myself in that way. And he sent me a message and just said like, I miss you, like late at night, and I had fallen asleep, and then I got it when I woke up, and then I just kind of said like, you're a very missable person yourself, David. I don't know what to say. I didn't know at this time that I was aware that I was fearful of certain things, but I actually wasn't aware that I ever allowed myself to be vulnerable with a guy and like tell him actually how I feel, because I definitely in that moment could have been like, I miss you too, obviously, but I didn't, because that wasn't in my, I don't know, my brain. I guess I was scared to be vulnerable in the sense of even saying that I miss somebody. So January 2020, back in Toronto this year. Can you believe, let's just stop for a minute and like, let's all think about where we were at in January 2020 and how that feels like a different year. So January 2020, I really started to dive into quantum physics and manifestation and how creation happens at a subatomic level, and especially because Laura and I were putting together the Quantum Creators course. So we're putting together this course. All I'm doing is consuming quantum physics content. I began to feel very empowered because I realized through learning all about creation at a quantum level, I'm like, holy shit, I did create David. I flippin' knew it. I wrote out this date, I wrote out this person, I wrote out the John Mayer song, like I wrote it all out and it fucking happened, okay? I'm sorry for swearing, I swear sometimes I'm just uninhibited, okay, you guys? And I shouldn't even apologize for that. I want to be more uninhibited with you guys, and I swear sometimes, so sorry. There we go, saying so. I'm a Canadian. There we go, okay. Anyways, so I'm like, holy shit, I created this. And so Lauren and I put together this course, the Quantum Creators course, all about empowering people to understand how creation works at a subatomic level, because this was like, something I realized, like I actually created David, or the experience of David in my reality based off of these quantum practices. And that was a quantum leap in itself. So January is coming around, like Laura is here all the time. We're watching a lot of like Joseph Ally's content, and because he speaks a lot to the work of Neville Goddard, and like that's when I discovered his channel. So diving into a lot of Joseph Ally content. He's amazing. We've had him on the Lorenzo show. Like, I'll leave his channel below. If you guys are watching this video, you subscribe to him. He will change your life. So Joseph starts to talk about how you can manifest a specific person into your life. And prior to that, there's even an episode of the Lorenzo show where Laura and I talk about how no, we don't agree with this, because it's almost like manipulation, like pulling someone into your life. It's like manipulating it. But when you come at the view of you're the creator, you can create any experience with any person that you want in your life, and you don't have to view it as like manipulation. You can simply create this person appearing in your life. And so Laura was aware of David to like some extent, but for the majority of 2019, she heard all about Ben. And so we're learning about this stuff, and I'm like, Lo, this is like David, the guy who I literally wrote down on a piece of paper, including his name, and then he manifested. And she kind of like threw it at me. She's like, you actually love David. Like, you actually do. And I'm like, I don't think I do. Like, I might love him as a person, but I don't want to like put that on it. But I said, you know, he is that person who came into my mind who hasn't necessarily left. And I'd say there still feels like there's unfinished business. So maybe I'm going to practice all these quantum techniques and bring David back into my life, just so I can figure it out. So yeah, my intention with using the quantum methods on David was just to like bring him back into my life, because he was always someone that I really admired, and I didn't feel good enough. And I guess I didn't feel ever good enough or worthy or deserving of that relationship. So I pushed it away, or withdrew out of fear, or just like wasn't vulnerable. So I decided I'm going to apply everything that I've learned, everything that Joseph Ally talks about in this specific person manifestation video, and I'm going to do it. And what's interesting is that Laura was here, and we put on this track to do a quantum meditation that we teach inside the program. And I decided to do it around bringing David back into my life. And I hadn't heard from him since I saw him in San Diego like a month before. And so Laura and I are meditating, and I'm meditating on David about this experience, like setting it into motion or setting the intention. And my phone was connected to the Bluetooth speaker, and it shut off. So I'm like, weird. So I get up from the meditation and I grab my phone, and David is FaceTiming me. He'd never FaceTimed me before. I'm like, Lo, remember we were just talking about David is FaceTiming, that's why the music shut off, holy shit. And I remember at this moment, I'm like, do I fucking answer? Like, oh my God, she's like, answer it. So I'm like, answer it, I'm like, hello? And then, yeah, we start talking. So, you know, the year starts to roll out, me and David start to like FaceTime, like maybe once a week, or just like start to connect more and just catch up about life, because we've had these synchronistic connections between a year and a half, between another year, and we just are catching up about life and the universe and where we've been and where we're going and all that good stuff. We always had these great conversations. And so, you know, then I go to Mexico with my family, and, you know, we even FaceTime there, and we just started to build a really interesting friendship. Like, it felt good to build a friendship with him because he'd always been this significant or meaningful person in my life. And yeah, when I was in Mexico, the quarantine happened, and when I got back, I was quarantined. He was obviously working from home for the first time, so we got to connect more talking on the phone. He has a very busy career, so before that it just kind of worked because I was super flighty. I was all over the place, and like he was kind of like all over the place too, but we would just connect when we did, and it felt good. But for the first time in our lives, we were both boom, planted, right? Planted, had more space, more time, and so we started to talk more. And I would say closer to the end of summer, we started to gradually start speaking more and more until we were FaceTiming every day, and until it was like the end of summer, when we just started to establish that this was powerful, that we were building a powerful foundation for our relationship. And it was really beautiful. Like, I really felt like this is actually how I want it done. I want to build the trust with an individual. Although we had like a whirlwind, like romancy chapter before together, or like experience before, now this actually felt like how I want to do it, how I actually am building trust with a human being, how I actually want to develop a relationship with someone. And what was interesting is as this relationship started to get more serious, because it was nice to have someone to talk to, right? Like, it was nice to get this nice attention, to like get to know somebody, have someone be like interested in me. And to be honest, like everything I went through with Ben in 2019, it's taken a while to get over that person that I saw in 2019, because they brought up a lot of inner work for me. So it just felt nice that I had this new person, and or not new, but like from the past, I had drew him back in. I brought someone back from the past who I had this feeling, this inkling that there's unfinished business here, like bring him back in, because I don't know if and I know he lives in different countries, so that's why we couldn't see each other because of the present circumstances. But if I hadn't brought David back in intentionally into my life, I know I always would have wondered about him. Like I said, he was this person who came into my mind and he didn't necessarily leave. And he left a very powerful, meaningful connection there. So I brought him back in so I could figure it out, and we're building this relationship. And then at the end of summer, like things start to get more serious, and we're planning when we're gonna see each other and what that's gonna look like, and starting to talk about the relationship that we were getting into. And he said, you know, we'll make it official when we see each other. But for now, this is like what it looks like and what it kind of has to be. But we're both with each other to the extent that we can be right now. So, I mean, it's just weird circumstances, right, guys? And so we'd planned because I'm back in school full time, the time that I could see him, we planned was going to be, which literally was a week today. So what happened? Well, near the end of summer, when it started to get more serious, what's interesting is that my skin started to break out. I've been quite honest with you guys always about my skin and like my journey with my skin. And what happened was, as it started to get more serious, my skin started to break out and I started to become a little bit more resistant to it. And I was pointing the finger back to myself, like, okay, you're getting resistance, like you're pulling away a little bit, you're not feeling attracted to him anymore. What's that about? Like, is there subconscious fears manifesting again, and are you sabotaging this? Because he's showing up as a perfect partner for you and showing up in that way of partnership, like really calling you every day, speaking to you so kindly, send me some presents in the mail, you know what I mean? Like, he just was making it a solid effort, and I felt resistant to it. And I'm like, am I just being resistant to it because no one's ever treated me like this before? Like, no one's loved on me before like this. And, you know, I kept pointing the finger back to myself when my intuition was trying to tell me something, right? So when we're breaking out in our skin, it means the resistance of the self. If you read Louise Hay's works, or David Hawkins, I believe, who's the author of Letting Go, whenever we're experiencing a physical manifestation in the body of like illness or you know, an injury or like some type of soreness, anything like that, it's all related to something that our emotional body is going through or trying to teach us. So when my skin started to break out, what was wonderful about this time around was that I was loving on my skin. Like, skin, I love you, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not gonna judge. Like, I used to be judgmental on my skin, like, why is it still here, frustrated? But I really took a loving approach to it. And it's because I've learned so much around manifestation in the body, and I created like my Goddess Glow and Grow course, which has been amazing, and amazing for a lot of you guys I know in regards to clearing your skin and growing your hair. But all of this comes back to self-love. So I just started to love on myself more, love on my skin more, but I was resisting my intuition. So I recognized, like, this is actually trying to teach me something, this breakout on my skin is trying to show me something about how I can love myself more, honor myself more, and I'm just figuring it out. So, you know, however long it takes, I'm just figuring it out. It doesn't fucking matter. I love my skin, I love my body, like, whatever. I'm just going through something, you know, we all go through things. And, you know, have a break from school. School is going fantastic. This relationship is, like, you know, coming to a head. I'm on Vancouver Island with my family, and I'm feeling really resistant. And also, please know, I'm around my family, my aunts and uncles and things like that, and people love to ask about my love life or talk about my love life. And living in Toronto, it's more like, it's okay to be whoever you want to be. It's okay to be wherever you're at in your life. It's okay. Like, there's a freedom here that does not exist when I go back to Vancouver Island. For me, when I go back to Vancouver Island, it's always like, oh, so do you have a boyfriend? Like, do you like anyone? Are you dating? Like, when are you gonna have babies? These conversations are thrown at me, and I know that I create that or attract that in some way because I'm expecting it when I go home. But it adds this pressure, right? It adds this pressure when you know that that's something that you're going into or something that you're gonna have to talk about. And I just don't feel there in my life right now. I don't. And so that added, like, kind of a heightened, okay, I need to figure out this David thing, or I just need to, like, move on from it. And I felt like I wanted an out. I felt like I wanted an out, and I was trying to figure out, is this my subconscious mind? Am I sabotaging? Like, fuck, I don't know. And it was a lot. And what ended up happening was, you know, I felt really busy. I felt overwhelmed. I knew that I was gonna have to go to San Diego and Mexico very soon. And so David and I hadn't specifically planned on dates, like specific dates. Like, it was just kind of like around here. He's like gonna buy the tickets for me and send them to me. So I'm like, okay, so David got back from this, like, little trip that he went on, and we're on FaceTime, and I was like, we need to figure out dates. Like, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. My term 2 starts. I've got the full-time business. I've got, like, all this stuff going on, and I just need to put my systems in place. If I'm gonna go to San Diego and Mexico with you, then we're gonna need to figure this out in the next few days, or I don't think I'm gonna be able to go. So I guess he hadn't really seen this aggressive or, like, more assertive side of me before, and I could tell, like, it caught him, like, a little bit off guard. And he wanted to kind of keep talking. I'm like, I have to go. I have a lot to do today. I have a lot of calls. And I just kind of, like, hung up the phone. And I remember when I hung up, I was like, I don't think I want to be in this anymore. And I think it's because it's not right for me. And it's not me sabotaging. It's just like, I don't want this pressure on my life right now. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be in a relationship right now. So, you know, I spent the rest of the day, and I remember, like, going down to the beach, and I remember I told the universe, because I talked to the universe, as you guys know, had a conversation with the universe already in this flow of events. And I told the universe, I'm like, listen, universe, I don't feel like this is my person. He's showing up in perfection, so it makes me judge myself or think there's something wrong with me, and I don't actually think there is anything wrong with me. I don't think this relationship is right, and I don't know why, but can you please either give me a sign that this is my person, or can you take him out of my life in such a way that I won't think twice about it, right? Because of how magical the synchronicities and everything had been. And so, sure enough, later that evening, what was interesting was I had sent David a birthday letter card that didn't arrive before he went on this trip and didn't arrive after he got back. So he never got this card, which was literally the most vulnerable thing I've ever done. Like, talking about my feelings to this extent. I'd never done something like that. And so this was, like, the most vulnerable thing that I ever did. He sends me this cryptic text message that night, like, after I talked to the universe. And so he sends me this cryptic message that's like, I feel like there's a reason why the letter didn't arrive. And I was like, okay, here it is, it's going down. Whatever's going down, it's going down right now. So then I'm, like, texting him a little bit. We get on the phone, which was, I thought it was weird that he texted me because we don't really text, we would just phone each other. or FaceTime each other. And what basically happened was that this shadow side that I was not aware of him, because he just projected this side of perfection and like everything a woman could want. And there was this whole other shadow side, and I'm not gonna get into details about it, but like I told you guys in a vlog, like more recently, like, it was fucked up. And that's where I'm gonna leave it, is that it was fucked up experience for me. But you know, everyone's where they are, but what had happened was what I needed to actually move him out of my life, and the universe to cut that cord and say, yes, move him out, everything's fine, you're good on your own, there's nothing wrong with you, there's no work here to do for you, it's just not your person, it's a mismatch. And so I ended it. I ended the relationship to whatever extent this relationship was at over the phone. I decided I'm not going to San Diego, I'm not going to, like, this relationship is done. I ended it. I was like, this is done, you know, don't ever contact me again, basically is what I said, because there was a lot of stuff that I was unaware of and that I was just like unavailable for at this time in my life. Like, I'm a woman who's done a lot of work. I'm a very strong woman, and I'm not about to fix anyone or hold anyone's hand through anything. Like, if I'm gonna be in a relationship, if I'm gonna introduce someone to you guys, it's a big deal for me, which is why I've dated and never had a boyfriend in a long time, is because if you're gonna be in a relationship with someone, you're giving them the opportunity to potentially marry you one day, okay? So this is not something that I take lightly in the slightest bit, okay? So I ended that, and I felt immediate relief after I got off the phone. I mean, I was a little bit shocked about completely learning a new side of this person. Like, I basically felt like the person who I'd gotten to know through 2020 to like a deeper level, it was fake or something. Like, I don't know. It was weird, like, to go through an experience like that where you just don't know a big side of someone. But it didn't make it mean anything about me, which is why I'm like perfectly fine. And when I got off the phone, I felt relief. So I'm like, that's confirmation. The feeling of relief inside of me that this relationship is ending is confirmation enough that my intuition was trying to tell me the entire time. Because your intuition, the universe, sees things you can't see, hears things you can't see, or hears things you don't hear. Like, the universe are the loving consciousness that looks after us. If it's trying to communicate to me through my intuition that this relationship isn't right for me, I need to tune into that even more. You know, I need to tune into that even more. And that's what it was trying to show me, because the universe knew it was going down in this other person's double life, and I had no idea. And thank goodness I didn't go to San Diego, or I didn't go to Mexico and have it blow up in a different way, or find out about something in a different way. And so the lesson goes is like, you can manifest a specific person. Yes. You can manifest someone down to their flippin' name if you want to, because I did. But you should know that I will never manifest a specific person back into my life again, because the universe ultimately knows best. And I just feel like, you know, there was a reason why I needed to draw this person back into my life, was to just really draw the conclusion that that's not your person. Okay, move him out. Because now I'm at this place where I literally am at an empty slate in my life. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm not seeing anyone. I don't have a desire to like date right now. I don't have any crushes. I'm just like blank space. And you know, when nothing is certain, everything is possible. I actually like to be in this space, because I'm like, okay, nothing but magic can happen from here. And so I learned so much about myself through this. I learned that I'm damn fucking powerful for manifesting a specific person, for creating a specific date, for like doing all this stuff. I'm proud of myself for just having the power to draw someone back in to answer my own internal questions that left, like, or the business that was left unfinished, like the things that were inkling inside of me. I'm not a person who lives with what if, so let's draw this person back in so we can figure out if it's meant to be or if it's not. And I did. And I learned that I'm a powerful fucking creator. And now, like, Lo and I teach this in the Quantum Creators course, and people have giant quantum leaps in their life. So this journey with Mr. Not so quantum anymore, okay? This journey with David was it was perfect for what it was, when it was, everything that it was. But it's not my person. And I feel so content now in knowing. So, you know, if you're out there, or if you're watching this video because you want to manifest a specific person, 150% it's possible. But ask yourself why you're doing it. And you may want to draw someone back in from the past just to confirm that it's right or wrong, but just beware, you know, just be careful what you wish for. and things aren't always what they seem, and ultimately trust your intuition. And yeah, anyways, this is a story. This is a long one, but this is something I've wanted to talk to you guys about for a long time. And now the story's now that the story is in completion, this person is like 150% out of my life for the rest of my life. I feel like I can tell you the entire story start to finish now of how I manifested a specific person and how I drew them back from the past. So I'd love your reflections or like anything that you guys feel inclined to share after this video down below. You can follow me on Instagram at Zoe Ariel, thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you again very soon.